Welcome back, everybody, to Friar Talk Tuesday on America's Finest Sports. Today, we're going to be going over a few Padres topics. Going to be talking about the offense. Going to be talking about a Juan Soto extension, potential extension. And then we're going to talk a little bit about and give our NL power rankings. We're just going to do 1 through 5, so not like the full playoff, not all the playoff teams, but we're going to do 1 through 5 in the NL. I think that'll be pretty fun. We haven't really talked like overall MLB since probably like trade deadline stuff. And then also when, we were talking a little bit about, I believe it was just like the wild card race and like upcoming schedules and stuff like that. But it'll be cool to talk about some of these other teams, talk about some injuries that have happened around the league. But to start it off, let's talk about this offense. We had been, I think everyone, as a whole Padres fandom, was very frustrated with the Padres offense after the trade deadline. That first 2 weeks was brutal. You see the Padres not really take care of business against the Nationals and some other teams that aren't very good. And then finally, over this, I feel like past few days, past week, we have seen some life from the offense. We've seen Josh Bell heat up. We've seen some of these guys in the offense, like Ha-Seong Kim, that's been here for a while, Will Myers, right? The guys that were here, but they were slumping a little bit. Will Myers had kind of been terrible all season. He's been super hot. Brandon Dreer was slumping last night, has the big game, right? So we're starting to see some life from this offense. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that just because it felt like a couple weeks ago, basically the pitching, no matter who it was, innings 1 through 8 was impeccable. And then the offense wasn't scoring, and your bullpen in the ninth inning, mostly Josh Hader, just was bad. So, Isaac, what are you feeling about the offense finally heating up, and do you think it's something that we should expect to continue to see?
I would hope so. I think we should expect to continue to see it. I think Josh Bell's starting to finally get more comfortable, and I think Brandon Drury is very difficult to kind of gauge because he was very cold. Obviously, yesterday he probably had the biggest hit of the game in terms of just starting us off. But I know his numbers in San Diego haven't been too good, so those two guys are going to be two of the bigger components come September when we really need our lineup to step up. And it's funny though because you see the lineup puts up a bunch of runs and it ends up being a 6-5 ball game after it starting 3-0 and 6-2 or something like that. So like it ends up being 6-5 and it's like, dude, when I want everything to be in sync. I want the bullpen to be good to start. Like we don't get very many of those games and they need more. Obviously yesterday offense was very encouraging, especially off Carlos Rodon. I mean, that's a guy that dominated us earlier this year, went a complete game, only allowed 1 run. This time it's a lot different. They honestly had some really good at bats. Brandon Drury was thinking fastball, fastball, fastball for his approach, and he went deep in the very first off of the first pitch. So I really like that aggressive approach that he had at the plate. Obviously, the last few days, Royals and Giants series combined, they've been putting up a lot of runs, and of course, you want to win that last Royals game, but in the last 4 games, they're 3-1. We haven't been playing very good teams. Obviously, yesterday you face a very good pitcher, but at the same time, I feel like these lousy teams, like Clint said, are kind of hanging in there way too much with the Padres, and I think we should expect the offense to be fine the rest of the way, but these guys need to be all systems go if they're going to be a playoff team.
Dude, absolutely. Because, I mean, we were talking about it before, but you're playing the bad teams, and you didn't take care of business during that stretch. And to be frank, the Padres team just didn't look very good for a couple weeks. Like, they looked pretty bad. I think everyone felt that. And it was at the stretch where you were going to make that gap over the Brewers. You were going to jump the Phillies. You were going to basically be neck and neck with the Braves. And the Braves have completely run away with the
Oh
top
yeah.
wild card spot. Phillies still haven't been that good, and the Brewers haven't been good either. So you're really neck and neck with them right now. But we all knew that it was a light spot in the schedule. It feels like everyone's a little bit more loose. Everyone's a little bit more comfortable just watching the game, watching how guys are interacting with each other. But it just felt like everything was like, I don't want to say so negative because I don't know if it's so negative, but it was just like down. And you felt like everyone was slumping. Everyone was trying to be like the guy to get the big hit to break someone out. And then finally, it just kind of seems like, all right, they're playing it seems like they're playing more team baseball, especially when they're at the plate. So that's what I think is the biggest thing. Now, if this is 100%, like they have to play really well throughout the rest of the season if they're going to make the playoffs. it's like you can't underperform and then make the playoffs. You have to play well. You have to play up to expectations, because even if you do that, it's probably you're gonna barely get in, because you are playing a tougher schedule. You are playing the Dodgers 9 times. The Padres have played the Giants really well, which has been super clutch this season. But you play the Cardinals, you play the Mariners. I think the Mariners is only a 2-game series, but they have their work cut out for them. They're playing well right now, and it's like, okay, finally. But you wish it would have been 2 weeks ago. You really do wish it would have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous that they weren't able to take advantage of a national series, where they should have realistically swept that series, and then they lost another series, or I forgot who it was against, but it was a very I feel like it's just been a very lackluster month for the Padres. And I mean, I know, like, normally I'm a really positive person when it comes to the Padres, but I don't have many expectations right now. Like, if they make the playoffs, what's really gonna happen? I mean, I feel like we hype up the yes, sir, Eric. I know, bro. I don't know what my draft grade was, but I kind of want to check it out. But anyway, I just feel like, for as much credit as a starting pitching has gotten, Musgrove, Clevenger, and Sean Manaea have. I mean, Musgrove's been all right. He only allowed 2 earned runs last time, but they haven't they haven't been what, like, Sean Manaea and Joe Musgrove haven't been what they were at the beginning of the season. Whereas really, it's just I feel really confident in you, Darvish. I feel really confident in Blake Snell. Mike Clevenger is a little bit of a toss-up. Same with Joe Musgrove. Now, Joe Musgrove's baseball savant and everything kind of show like he's going to be all right. He's still a good pitcher. But in terms of like a 3-game playoff series, I'm really only confident in Darvish and Snell. Just being completely honest. And I really like Mike Clevenger. But he just yesterday he looked okay. I think he went like 5 innings, 2 runs earned. And keep in mind, there were 2 delays that might have hindered his start a little bit. Maybe he could have went 6, maybe he could have went 7. But realistically, when you go into 2 delays, you're gonna get taken out earlier than expected. So maybe he'll be okay. And really the big thing is gonna be how well is the starting pitching gonna pitch from 1 through 5, because you're gonna have to skip Sean Manaea starts a few times. You're gonna have to skip probably both of his starts against the Dodgers. His next 2 starts, I believe, are against the Dodgers. You're gonna want to either move him up or take him out, because you can't have him pitching in those games. He's supposed to pitch in the game on Saturday, I believe. It was supposed to be against Tony Gonsolin. Now that it's not Tony Gonsolin, that is going to be your best chance to win. Throw your best guy. Throw Mike Clevenger, Musgrove, whoever it's supposed to be, throw him, because that is now your best chance to win one of those games. So I am confident the starting pitching will find it. I do think Clevenger and Musgrove are really good pitchers. They haven't been as good as I'd expect, but they have to find it. But in terms of the lineup, everyone's looking comfortable. Jerkson Profar has been through kind of a slump, but he went through it earlier in the season where he started off really hot, got in a slump, and then got really hot again. So hopefully it's just kind of like a little hiatus that everyone goes throughout the season. Manny's doing Manny things. Juan Soto's doing Juan Soto things. Ha-Seong Kim, great against lefties. I know against righties he's going to bat lower in the lineup, but been fantastic. Really, I don't feel like there's a massive weak point in the lineup. It's just a matter of being able to gel and timely hitting, man. Timely hitting is everything. They haven't been doing that lately. They did that the past few days, and they've been winning some ball games. So timely hitting and starting pitching is what was winning them games earlier, and they need to go back to that.
Yeah, and for a while there, it was literally just Manny and Juan Soto that were doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now Josh Bell's kind of had some clutch hits. Last night, it was nice to see in the first inning when Juan Soto got on base and then stole a bag, and then Bell comes in and drives him in with 2 outs. That was like, okay, look, a little bit of small ball. Could you believe it? Like, positive base running. This is amazing. So yeah, they are gonna have to continue to play better. But I also think, like, we're talking about like how well they could fare in like a 3-game playoff and stuff like that. You brought that up. If the bats are able, if the offense is able to play well, and if they're able to be consistent, and they do make the playoffs, it means that they've been playing well for like a month. So they're gonna it's one of those things where I feel like sometimes when you're kind of like towards the end of the season and you're like, okay, you have to like win a bunch of games and rip off a bunch of wins. you've already started playoff baseball. Like the Padres are in playoff baseball right now. They're playing the Dodgers a bunch. They're playing the Giants. They're playing the Mariners, the Cardinals. They're playing a bunch of playoff teams. I know the Giants aren't, but like they're all right, and they have a couple pitchers that are pretty good. But you're playing a bunch of playoff caliber teams. So like they're probably kind of in the okay, it's pressure mode, it's playoff time basically. So yeah, I think that we bring up the stuff about them not like kind of having questions of how good they can be in the playoffs, but I think we have to see where the team is at once the playoffs do start. Definitely some kinks, and also like you brought up Musgrove. In his last 7, he has a 4.4 ERA, so not great, but there's also a couple games where he kind of got rocked bad. So I don't know how bad he's really been in terms of like how many games have actually been like really bad.
Yeah.
His last like few starts, so he only allowed 2 earned against Kansas City, but he gave up 5, but only allowed 2 earned. And then the other starts were pretty good besides that. And then the one before was Colorado, he allowed 6, and that was August 4th. So he's been good over the past like few starts. So I honestly think he's fine. And if you remember last year too with Musgrove, he had like 2
Yeah.
stretches where he had like down stretches, and
Mhm.
that was the end of the second stretch, I think. That last game against the Rockies, I feel like. So I think he's been a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know anything else about the offense. Any specific guys that you've been that you feel like all right, they're kind of turning the corner or anything like that.
No, I
Also,
think go for it.
I was gonna say one other thing is we were talking about this the other day, but Ha-Seong Kim might be the non-trade deadline acquisition. He might be the Padres' second best hitter on the season. I don't know if you guys have been noticing that, but he's actually getting up there, and
He's
it's
doing
kind of
really good.
likely at this point.
Yeah, he's looking really good. Nothing else I really want to talk about. We kind of talked about all the guys that are kind of putting up the numbers right now. Josh Bell's coming around. Brandon Drury, I wouldn't say he's coming around, but he had a really solid first at bat yesterday. I forgot what he did the rest of the game, but really that was a game changing hit. So I don't think there's really anything else with the offense that I have in mind.